You're standing in front of a mirror, you're smiling, but that smile isn't yours. Remember that moment, the first time you wore an identity. Maybe you were 5, maybe 7. You wanted to cry, but they said, big kids don't cry. You were angry, but you became the rude child. You were scared, but they told you, be brave. And that day, something clicked in your small mind. The real me is dangerous, the fake me is safe. That's how a persona is born. You don't wear a mask, you become the mask. And years pass, the mask becomes so convincing that you forget there's a face underneath. You look in the mirror each morning and greet a stranger. Your co-workers love you, your family is proud, your lover admires you. But at night, in the silence, something aches inside. But what about the real me? Where did I go? Today, we're diving into the psychology of personas, because the roles you've played, the masks you've worn throughout your life, they come at a cost, and you cannot be free until you pay that price. Carl Jung called the face we show the world the persona, Latin for mask. It comes from the masks worn by actors in ancient Greek theater. But Jung wasn't talking about theatrical performance, he was talking about survival. Because none of us can truly show up as ourselves. Society demands conformity. Family expects approval. Work requires professionalism. Love seeks performance. And so we learn. Which face gets us loved? Which role keeps us safe? Which mask prevents us from being alone? The good child persona. The strong leader persona. The cheerful friend persona. The perfect partner persona. These personas aren't bad. In fact, they're necessary. The problem begins when the persona starts living you. Because the persona starts as a tool, but over time it becomes your identity. And one day you wake up, you realize you've spent 30 years living someone else's life, in a job you don't love, in a marriage you don't recognize, in a self you don't know. So how does this happen? How does a person lose themselves? Let me take you back to the moment a child creates their first persona. A child is authentic at first. They cry because they're hurt. They laugh because they're happy. They get angry because their boundary was crossed. They show love because they feel it. But one day, that authenticity is punished. Don't cry. It's shameful. Don't laugh too much. Be serious. Don't get angry. You're a bad child. Don't cling. Don't be needy. And the child learns. The real me gets rejected. The fake me gets accepted. In psychology, we call this conditional love. Love that only accepts a certain version of you. Not you, but your performance. This is where the split begins. The real self gets buried, pushed into darkness, condemned to silence. The persona emerges, steps onto the stage, receives applause, and the child survives, but loses a piece of themselves. This has been proven neurologically. Children who are constantly pushed away from authenticity experience chronic stress in their limbic system. The prefrontal cortex fails to maintain identity integration. The result, a fragmented sense of self. In Jung's words, we become the victims of our personas. And here's the tragedy. We don't even notice. Because the persona becomes so convincing that the real self is forgotten. Only sometimes, in quiet moments, there's a deep emptiness, a sense of something missing, a loneliness. Everyone knows me, but no one really knows me. That voice is the cry of the buried self. We all have different personas. Some are used at work, some with family, some in love. But certain personas take over your entire life. The perfectionist persona. If I do everything flawlessly, I'll be worthy. This person never makes mistakes. Always prepared, always successful. But inside they're burning out because perfection isn't a goal, it's an escape. Don't see me, see my achievements. The good child persona. If I please everyone, they won't abandon me. This person can never say no, ignores their own needs, becomes everyone's therapist, but no one asks if they're okay. Because the persona broadcasts I'm fine so powerfully. The strong leader persona. If I never show weakness, I'm safe. This person never cries, never gets tired, always in control. But inside there's a child. Exhausted, scared, wanting to be held, but they can't show it because leaders are strong, right? The cheerful friend persona. If I keep smiling, no one will see my pain. This person is the life of the party. Always positive, always fun. But when they get home, the mask drops and emptiness remains. Because the joy wasn't real. It was a method of escape. These personas help us survive, but they prevent us from living because the stronger the persona, the deeper the real self gets buried. Years pass, the persona perfects itself. It becomes reflexive now. You wake up in the morning, put on the persona, go to work, strengthen the persona, come home, can't take off the persona because you're not sure what's underneath anymore. And life continues. But something is always missing. In relationships, your lover loves you, but which you? The persona you show or the real you underneath? And this question wakes you up at midnight because you're afraid. What if they saw the real me? Would they still love me? That's why you can never truly get close. Can't take off the mask, because without the mask you don't know who you are. In career you're successful, everyone says so. Promotions, money, praise, but inside you're hollow because this success isn't yours, it's the personas. And one day, you're standing at the top, you look down and realize the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. within yourself. This is the worst part. When you look in the mirror, you see a stranger. When you speak, it doesn't sound like your voice. When you make decisions, you don't know whose decision it is. Who am I? Is no longer a philosophical question. It's an existential crisis, and sometimes it becomes unbearable. The voice inside screams, "Enough. I can't perform anymore. I won't wear this mask." Jung calls this persona collapse, the moment when the ego can no longer hold the weight and shatters. From the outside, it looks like they suddenly went crazy. But the truth is, they've been crazy for years. They were just performing perfectly. So, is persona collapse a disaster? No. It might be the most important moment of your life, because only when the persona collapses can the real self surface. So, you feel like you're wearing a mask all the time, and you're wondering, how do you even begin to live without one? Well, let's get one thing straight first. The goal isn't to destroy your masks, your personas. They're actually pretty useful. We need them to navigate society. Being professional at work, being a supportive friend, being a loving family member, these are all roles, or personas, that help create harmony. The real problem starts when the persona becomes your master, not your tool, when you forget who you are underneath. The great psychologist Carl Jung put it perfectly. Know your persona, but don't identify with it. This means you need to be aware. Know which roles you're playing and when. But always remember that beneath all those layers, there's a real, core self. So, how do we start? The first step is simple: awareness. Just start asking yourself throughout the day. Right now, am I being me, or am I playing a part? When you're laughing with your friends, is that genuinely you, or is it the cheerful friend persona taking over? When you're alone with your partner, can you truly be vulnerable, or is the strong, perfect partner persona running the show? Think about it. In that last work meeting, what was your real, unfiltered opinion? Or did you let the agreeable employee persona speak for you? Just noticing is a huge first step. The second step is a bit deeper. It says about meeting the parts of yourself you've even pushed away. For years, maybe you've buried your anger, your sadness, your fears. It's time to turn inward and listen to them without judgment. These feelings aren't shameful. They're a part of you. You can write them down in a journal, draw them, or even just allow yourself to cry or shout into a pillow. The key is to do it consciously. This isn't about losing control. It's about reclaiming parts of yourself. This is the journey back home, to you. Finally, the third step is learning to live as your true self. One small, brave step at a time. It's scary, I know, but it's also incredibly liberating. Start small. Share something truly authentic with someone you trust completely. Next time, maybe you can voice your actual opinion in a low-stakes meeting, or perhaps show your partner a moment of genuine vulnerability. Yes, it will feel risky, but the reward is immeasurable, because for the first time, when someone loves you, you'll know they love the real you, not just the performance you've perfected. As Jung said, the more you identify with your persona, the more unconscious you become. But the reverse is also true. The more you live as your authentic self, the more conscious and alive you become. Masks aren't inherently bad. But when you put one on, make sure it isn't the one wearing you. Life is not a performance to be judged. It's an experience to be lived. And you can only truly live it when you show up as yourself. Maybe you've been living as a persona for years, but now you know there's a face underneath forgotten. Maybe quiet, but it's still there, waiting. It's time to find that face, embrace it, and step into the light. Because being your real self is the greatest act of courage you'll ever undertake. Thanks for watching. If this resonated with you, give it a like and subscribe for more content on living a more authentic life. See you in the next one.